Earth lies devastated after the greatest mass extinction in history. Vast volcanic eruptions have buried the land beneath ash, while toxic gases darken the sky and silence spreads across once thriving ecosystems. Yet beneath this lifeless world, a handful of resilient survivors quietly begin the long recovery that will reshape Earth forever. Across vast toxic wetlands, stagnant pools, and sulfur-rich mud create one of the harshest environments life has ever faced. Only a handful of resilient organisms endure these conditions, demonstrating remarkable adaptations that allow them to persist where almost every other species has disappeared. Small patches of green slowly emerge through layers of volcanic ash, revealing the first signs that nature has begun to recover. Primitive plants reclaim abandoned ground little by little, transforming barren landscapes into the earliest habitats capable of supporting a new generation of life. Hardy ferns spread across the recovering terrain, becoming some of the earliest pioneers of the early Triassic world. Their rapid growth stabilizes the damaged soil, traps precious moisture, and creates sheltered microhabitats where countless smaller organisms can gradually return. Tiny insects once again fill the quiet air, signaling an important turning point in Earth's recovery. Though easily overlooked, these resilient creatures restore essential ecological connections by pollinating early vegetation, recycling organic matter, and providing food for larger survivors. Scavengers roam the devastated landscape, searching for the last remains left behind by the extinction. Every discovery becomes a rare opportunity to survive another day, while their constant feeding helps recycle nutrients that slowly nourish the recovering ecosystems. Among the most successful survivors, Lystrosaurus begins to dominate the early Triassic landscape. Adaptable, resilient, and capable of thriving in harsh conditions, this remarkable herbivore becomes one of the defining symbols of life's determination to continue after unimaginable catastrophe. Water has become one of the planet's most valuable resources. Surviving animals travel cautiously across scorched terrain, following ancient riverbeds and shallow pools where every drink offers temporary relief, but also exposes them to competition and constant danger. Extreme heat continues to shape every aspect of survival. Animals remain active only during favorable conditions, conserving precious energy while avoiding the most punishing temperatures. Every successful adaptation increases the chances that life will endure another generation. Although the scars of extinction still dominate the planet, unmistakable signs of recovery now appear across the landscape. New vegetation spreads, surviving animals become more numerous, and fragile ecosystems slowly reconnect, marking the true beginning of Earth's long journey toward a new age. Survivors gradually spread across the recovering wilderness, occupying habitats left empty by extinction. Every successful generation strengthens fragile populations, proving that even the harshest environments can become the birthplace of entirely new ecosystems. Seasonal rains bring precious water to the scarred landscape, filling shallow streams and temporary wetlands. These brief periods of abundance allow plants to expand, insects to multiply, and countless small animals to find food before the dry conditions return. Young forests begin taking shape as resilient plants establish deeper roots across the recovering land. Though still sparse compared with the ancient world that vanished, This growing vegetation provides shelter, food, and stability for an increasing variety of life. Small herbivores carefully browse among fresh vegetation while remaining alert for danger. Every feeding opportunity is balanced by constant vigilance as competition and survival continue to shape the fragile communities of the early Triassic world. Predators slowly reclaim their ecological role as prey populations become more stable. Rather than dominating the landscape, they help restore balance by controlling weaker animals, allowing healthier populations to expand across recovering habitats. Ancient rivers once choked by ash now carry cleaner water across broad floodplains. Along their banks, plants flourish more rapidly, attracting animals from distant regions and creating some of the richest environments of the recovering continent. As food becomes more reliable, animal populations gradually increase in both number and diversity. New ecological relationships begin to emerge, marking an important transition from simple survival toward a functioning and interconnected ecosystem. Life adapts to an unpredictable climate through remarkable resilience. Burrowing, seasonal movement, and efficient feeding strategies help many species endure prolonged heat, drought, and sudden environmental changes that still threaten the recovering world. Each generation inherits a landscape slightly more hospitable than the one before. Plants spread farther, food webs become stronger, and once isolated survivors gradually reconnect into expanding communities that signal a lasting ecological recovery. The planet has not yet fully healed, but unmistakable progress is now visible across the early Triassic world. From barren volcanic wastelands to growing ecosystems filled with resilient life, Earth begins a new evolutionary journey that will eventually give rise to the age of dinosaurs. Life slowly spreads into regions once abandoned after the extinction. Rivers, floodplains, and recovering forests become connected by the steady movement of animals searching for food and shelter, allowing isolated populations to rebuild a more resilient and balanced ecosystem. Competition gradually replaces simple survival as more species return to the recovering landscape. Herbivores share limited vegetation while predators patiently observe every opportunity, creating the first stable food webs of the early Triassic world. Ancient wetlands now support an increasing diversity of plants and animals. Insects buzz above shallow water, amphibians occupy muddy shorelines, and hardy vegetation stabilizes the soil, transforming lifeless ground into thriving ecological refuges. Each sunrise reveals a landscape becoming more vibrant than the day before. Fresh vegetation spreads across volcanic plains while surviving animals expand into new territories, proving that recovery is driven by countless small victories repeated over millions of years. Natural selection quietly shapes every generation. Individuals best adapted to heat, drought, and scarce resources survive to reproduce, gradually creating stronger populations capable of enduring one of the harshest climates in Earth's history. As ecosystems grow more complex, every species begins playing a vital ecological role. Plants capture energy from the sun, herbivores convert it into life, and predators maintain balance, restoring the natural cycles that had nearly vanished forever. The recovering world remains unpredictable, with volcanic activity and shifting climates constantly challenging its inhabitants. Yet each environmental change also creates new opportunities, encouraging evolution to explore countless paths toward survival. Across broad valleys and winding rivers, resilient communities continue expanding. Every successful migration introduces species to fresh habitats, increasing biodiversity and strengthening ecological connections throughout the recovering continent. Millions of years after disaster struck, the scars of extinction remain visible, but they no longer define the planet. Growing forests, active waterways, and flourishing wildlife demonstrate that Earth's remarkable resilience can overcome even its darkest chapter. The first stage of recovery is now complete. From a silent world buried beneath ash, life has rebuilt the foundations of thriving ecosystems. This extraordinary transformation prepares the planet for an even greater evolutionary chapter, where new reptiles and the earliest dinosaurs will soon emerge to reshape Earth's future. As recovery accelerates, the first stable habitats begin stretching across broad floodplains and winding rivers. These connected landscapes allow plants and animals to expand beyond isolated refuges, slowly rebuilding ecosystems that had nearly vanished after Earth's greatest extinction. The climate remains unforgiving, yet resilient life continues adapting with remarkable efficiency. Every seasonal change tests the limits of survival, favoring species capable of enduring heat, drought, and scarce resources while gradually strengthening future generations. Young forests become increasingly diverse as hardy conifers, seed ferns, and ancient vegetation spread across volcanic soil. Their growing roots stabilize the land, enrich the ground with organic matter, and create shelter for countless small animals beginning to return. Insects flourish within recovering vegetation, restoring essential ecological relationships that had nearly disappeared. Their constant activity supports pollination, decomposition, and nutrient cycling, quietly strengthening the foundation of every expanding food web. Small reptiles cautiously explore new territories where food has become more reliable. Every journey carries risk, yet each successful migration helps connect distant populations, increasing biodiversity across the recovering early Triassic landscape. Lystrosaurus continues thriving where many larger animals once failed. Its adaptability allows it to dominate vast regions, grazing on resilient vegetation, while demonstrating how evolution often rewards flexibility more than strength after global catastrophe. Predators begin appearing more frequently as prey populations recover. Their presence restores a natural balance, preventing any single species from overwhelming the ecosystem and encouraging healthier, more stable communities throughout the expanding landscape. Ancient rivers once filled with volcanic sediment now flow more steadily across broad plains. Fresh water supports growing forests, attracts migrating animals, and creates fertile environments where new ecological communities can establish themselves. Although volcanic activity still shapes the horizon, its influence gradually weakens. Clear skies allow more sunlight to reach recovering vegetation, increasing plant growth and providing the energy needed for increasingly complex ecosystems to develop. The early Triassic world is no longer defined only by destruction. Across forests, rivers, and open plains, resilient life steadily transforms a devastated planet into a thriving ecosystem, preparing the stage for the extraordinary evolutionary age that still lies ahead. Recovery continues as expanding forests slowly replace the barren volcanic plains. Towering conifers and resilient seed ferns cast the first broad patches of shade, creating cooler habitats where insects, reptiles, and small herbivores can thrive in growing numbers. Along winding rivers, fertile floodplains become centers of new life. Seasonal floods enrich the soil with fresh nutrients, encouraging dense vegetation that supports increasingly diverse animal communities and strengthens the recovering ecosystem year after year. Herds of Lystrosaurus roam between feeding grounds with remarkable efficiency. Their constant grazing shapes the landscape while spreading plant material across wide areas, helping vegetation recover and reinforcing the balance between animals and their environment. The return of healthy plant communities allows herbivores to become more widespread. With food now available across larger territories, competition eases slightly, giving vulnerable species a greater chance to survive and reproduce successfully. Predators remain patient rather than relentless, conserving precious energy until the right opportunity appears. Every successful hunt reflects a recovering food web where survival depends not on size alone, but on timing, endurance, and careful observation. Changing seasons continue testing every living creature. Periods of rainfall bring brief abundance, while prolonged drought quickly reminds the survivors that Earth's recovery remains fragile, and that every generation must adapt to unpredictable conditions. Ancient insects fill the air above recovering wetlands, carrying out essential ecological roles with every movement. Their growing populations accelerate decomposition, recycle nutrients, and support the expanding chain of life spreading across the early Triassic landscape. Young reptiles explore habitats that only recently became capable of supporting life again. Their cautious movements reveal an ecosystem gaining complexity, where each new species occupies a unique role within the rebuilding balance of nature. Across the recovering continent, countless species evolve in different ways to meet the same challenge of survival. Over millions of years, these small adaptations accumulate, quietly driving one of the greatest evolutionary recoveries in Earth's history. "50 scenes into this journey, the scars of extinction remain visible, yet they no longer define the planet. From silent volcanic wastelands, resilient ecosystems have emerged once more, proving that life possesses an extraordinary ability to recover, adapt, and begin again. The recovering world grows more interconnected as rivers, forests, and open plains merge into expanding ecosystems. Animals travel farther in search of food and mates, while plants steadily colonize new ground, strengthening the ecological links that sustain life across the continent. Conifer forests continue spreading across the landscape, replacing ash-covered plains with pockets of enduring green. Their dense canopies moderate the harsh climate below, creating sheltered environments where smaller animals can forage, reproduce, and avoid extreme temperatures. Life now follows increasingly predictable seasonal rhythms. Rainfall awakens dormant vegetation, insects emerge in great numbers, and herbivores gather where fresh growth appears. These recurring cycles bring greater stability to ecosystems still recovering from global catastrophe. Ancient waterways become vital migration corridors connecting distant habitats. Along their banks, animals encounter new resources, unfamiliar competitors, and fresh opportunities, encouraging the exchange of populations that gradually increases the diversity of the recovering world. Natural selection continues shaping every generation. Individuals best suited to changing conditions survive long enough to pass on their adaptations, allowing entire populations to become stronger and more resilient with each passing million years. Predators refine their hunting strategies as prey becomes more abundant and alert. Rather than relying on speed alone, many succeed through patience, stealth, and careful timing, reinforcing the delicate balance that keeps recovering ecosystems healthy. The atmosphere slowly clears as volcanic activity declines across much of the region. More sunlight reaches the recovering forests, accelerating plant growth and providing the energy needed to support increasingly complex food webs throughout the landscape. Countless small interactions quietly transform the planet each day. Plants enrich the soil, insects recycle nutrients, herbivores spread vegetation, and predators regulate animal populations, together rebuilding ecological systems once thought impossible to restore. Evolution never pauses. Across rivers, wetlands, and forests, every successful adaptation opens new possibilities for future generations. The survivors are no longer merely enduring hardship, they are shaping the biological foundations of an entirely new prehistoric world. Halfway through Earth's remarkable recovery, destruction is gradually giving way to renewal. Stable ecosystems now extend across growing landscapes, while resilient species prepare the stage for the evolutionary innovations that will soon transform the Triassic into the age of dinosaurs. The recovering landscape now supports a richer variety of life than ever before since the Great Extinction. Expanding forests, healthy rivers, and fertile floodplains provide countless opportunities for species to diversify, strengthening ecosystems that continue growing with each passing generation. Across open woodlands, herbivores move between feeding grounds, following seasonal patterns shaped by rainfall and fresh vegetation. These predictable migrations distribute nutrients throughout the landscape, while supporting predators that depend on healthy prey populations. The balance between predators and herbivores becomes increasingly stable as ecosystems mature. Every hunt removes the weakest individuals, allowing stronger populations to flourish, and ensuring that food resources remain available for countless species sharing the recovering world. Ancient forests grow taller with every passing age. Conifers, seed ferns, and other resilient plants form layered habitats where insects, reptiles, and amphibians occupy different ecological niches, creating a far more complex environment than existed after the extinction. The rivers flowing across the continent no longer carry only the scars of volcanic destruction. Their clear waters nourish expanding wetlands where abundant vegetation attracts diverse wildlife, transforming these waterways into the lifelines of the recovering Triassic landscape. Small evolutionary changes continue accumulating across millions of years. Slight improvements in movement, feeding, and survival gradually produce new forms of life, demonstrating that extraordinary biological transformations often begin with the smallest adaptations. Environmental disturbances still occur, reminding every species that recovery remains an ongoing process. Droughts, floods, and localized volcanic activity periodically reshape habitats, but resilient ecosystems now possess the strength to recover far more quickly than before. As biodiversity increases, ecological relationships become more intricate. Competition, cooperation, scavenging, and predation intertwine to create self-sustaining food webs capable of supporting an ever-expanding variety of prehistoric life across the continent. The descendants of the earliest survivors now occupy habitats their ancestors could never have imagined. Through countless generations of adaptation, they have transformed a devastated world into one filled with opportunity, resilience, and remarkable biological diversity. Earth's long recovery has reached a defining milestone. The foundations of stable ecosystems are firmly established, and evolution is preparing to introduce entirely new groups of reptiles, whose innovations will soon reshape the planet and usher in the age of dinosaurs. The recovering continent now supports ecosystems that grow stronger with every passing season. Forests expand across fertile ground, rivers nourish thriving floodplains, and countless species occupy specialized habitats, reflecting a world steadily leaving catastrophe behind. As vegetation becomes more abundant, herbivores spend less time searching for food and more time reproducing and raising their young. Stable food supplies allow populations to grow, strengthening the ecological foundation that supports every level of the recovering food web. Predators adapt alongside their prey, refining their senses and hunting behavior through countless generations. Every pursuit becomes part of a natural balance that shapes healthier populations while maintaining the stability of expanding prehistoric ecosystems. Wetlands flourish as seasonal waters return year after year. Dense vegetation anchors the soil, insects fill the humid air, and amphibians thrive along quiet shorelines, creating vibrant habitats that contrast sharply with the barren world left by the extinction. Life continues spreading into regions once too hostile to survive. From volcanic highlands to fertile valleys, resilient plants and animals establish new populations, gradually reconnecting ecosystems that had remained isolated for millions of years. The atmosphere grows increasingly favorable as volcanic influence continues to decline. Brighter sunlight reaches the recovering forests, encouraging faster plant growth and providing the energy required for more complex ecological communities to flourish. Every generation carries the legacy of survival while introducing new adaptations for the future. Slight improvements in movement, feeding, and reproduction accumulate over time, quietly driving the remarkable evolutionary transformation of the early Triassic world. Across rivers, forests, and open plains, ecological relationships become increasingly interconnected. Herbivores shape vegetation, predators regulate populations, and decomposers recycle nutrients, ensuring that energy flows efficiently through every level of the recovering ecosystem. The descendants of Earth's earliest survivors now thrive in environments transformed by millions of years of resilience. Their success demonstrates how evolution can rebuild extraordinary biodiversity from only a handful of species that endured the greatest extinction in history. The long recovery is entering a new chapter. Stable climates, flourishing ecosystems, and increasingly diverse reptiles reveal a planet once again capable of supporting large-scale evolution, setting the stage for the remarkable rise of the first true dinosaurs. Across the recovering continent, ancient ecosystems now function with remarkable stability. Flourishing forests, winding rivers, and open floodplains sustain diverse communities where every species contributes to the balance that continues shaping Earth's renewed biological future. New reptile lineages begin appearing across the landscape, each carrying unique adaptations suited to changing environments. Though still modest in number, these pioneers represent the first steps toward evolutionary groups that will later transform life on land. Competition encourages innovation as animals explore different ways of feeding, moving, and surviving. Over countless generations, even subtle advantages accumulate, allowing new species to occupy ecological niches that were once left empty after the Great Extinction. Healthy vegetation now blankets valleys and riverbanks with expanding forests of conifers and seed ferns. Their deep root systems stabilize the soil, reduce erosion, and create sheltered habitats where increasingly diverse wildlife can flourish together. Seasonal migrations become an essential rhythm of life across the Triassic landscape. Herbivores follow fresh vegetation while predators shadow their movements, linking distant ecosystems into a vast network sustained by changing climates and reliable food sources. The world's rivers serve as living corridors through the recovering wilderness. Fresh water, fertile floodplains, and dense vegetation attract countless species, making these waterways the beating heart of ecosystems that continue expanding across the continent. As biodiversity increases, ecological relationships grow more sophisticated. Herbivores shape plant communities, predators maintain healthy populations, scavengers recycle nutrients, and decomposers return life to the soil, completing the cycles that sustain the recovering world. The descendants of the earliest survivors have transformed through millions of years of adaptation. Their resilience demonstrates that evolution is not driven by sudden change, but by countless small successes repeated across generations in an ever-changing environment. Although the memory of catastrophe still lingers within the rocks, the living world tells a different story. Vibrant forests, active wetlands, and thriving wildlife reveal a planet that has reclaimed its vitality through persistence, adaptation, and time. Earth now stands at the threshold of a new evolutionary era. Stable ecosystems and expanding reptile populations have prepared the stage for the emergence of early dinosaurs, whose extraordinary journey will soon redefine life across the prehistoric world. Millions of years after the greatest extinction in Earth's history, vibrant ecosystems once again cover the land. Ancient forests, flowing rivers, and thriving wildlife stand as living proof that even the deepest global catastrophe could not extinguish life's extraordinary resilience. The descendants of the earliest survivors now occupy nearly every available habitat. Through countless generations of adaptation, they have rebuilt complex food webs, restoring the ecological balance that once seemed lost forever beneath volcanic ash and silence. Every species carries the legacy of a world forever changed. Their bodies, behaviors, and survival strategies reflect millions of years of evolution shaped by hardship, demonstrating how natural selection transforms catastrophe into opportunity for new life. Across forests and floodplains, ecological relationships continue growing in complexity. Predators, herbivores, scavengers, and decomposers work together within balanced food webs, creating stable environments capable of supporting an increasingly diverse prehistoric world. The recovering planet has become a vast laboratory of evolution. New adaptations appear with every generation, allowing reptiles to explore fresh ecological roles while preparing for an evolutionary transition unlike anything Earth has experienced before. Among these resilient reptiles, a small group begins displaying characteristics that will shape the future of life on land. Though still overshadowed by older lineages, the earliest dinosaurs are quietly emerging within ecosystems finally stable enough to support their rise. These pioneering dinosaurs do not dominate the landscape overnight. They survive through agility, efficient movement, and adaptability, gradually expanding alongside many other reptiles as evolution continues experimenting with new possibilities across the Triassic world. The world entering the late Triassic is one of balance rather than recovery. Flourishing forests, healthy rivers, and interconnected ecosystems now provide the environmental stability needed for entirely new evolutionary pathways to unfold across the continents. The age of survival is slowly giving way to the age of opportunity. From the descendants of a handful of resilient survivors, countless new species emerge, proving that life's greatest strength has always been its ability to adapt, diversify, and endure. Earth's greatest extinction did not mark the end of life. It marked the beginning of a remarkable new chapter. From a devastated world rose flourishing ecosystems and the first dinosaurs, setting the stage for one of the most extraordinary evolutionary stories in our planet's history. The first dinosaurs emerged within a world no longer dominated by recovery, but by opportunity. Though still few in number, their upright posture, efficient movement, and adaptability provide subtle advantages that will shape the next great chapter of Earth's evolutionary history. These early dinosaurs share the landscape with many successful reptiles, each occupying its own ecological role. Rather than replacing older species immediately, they become one part of a diverse ecosystem where evolution continues testing countless paths to survival. Stable climates and flourishing vegetation provide the resources needed for biodiversity to expand further. Every generation introduces new adaptations, allowing prehistoric life to become increasingly specialized as ecosystems mature across the late Triassic landscape. Predators and herbivores now exist within balanced food webs refined over millions of years. Every hunt, migration, and seasonal change contributes to a dynamic ecosystem where countless species depend upon one another to maintain ecological stability. Across ancient forests and winding rivers, evolution quietly experiments with new body forms and behaviors. Some lineages will eventually disappear, while others will leave descendants that dominate Earth for more than 160 million years. The scars of the Great Extinction remain preserved within ancient rocks, yet the living world tells a far different story. Flourishing ecosystems demonstrate that resilience, adaptation, and time can transform even the greatest environmental disaster into new beginnings. Every surviving lineage carries a fragment of Earth's remarkable recovery. From tiny insects to growing reptile populations, each species contributes to an interconnected web of life that has become stronger through millions of years of continuous evolution. The late Triassic marks a turning point where ecological stability allows innovation to flourish. New predators, herbivores, and early dinosaurs evolved together, creating increasingly complex communities that foreshadow the coming age of dinosaurs. The rise of dinosaurs is not the story of sudden dominance, but of gradual adaptation within a recovering world. Their success is built upon millions of years of environmental change and countless evolutionary steps taken by the survivors before them. From the ashes of Earth's greatest extinction emerged forests, rivers, thriving ecosystems, and the earliest dinosaurs. This extraordinary recovery reminds us that life continually adapts to change, laying the foundations for every future chapter in the history of our living planet. The recovery that began with only a handful of resilient survivors has transformed into a thriving prehistoric world. Across forests, rivers, and open floodplains, stable ecosystems now support an extraordinary diversity of life, proving that evolution can rebuild even after unimaginable devastation. The earliest dinosaurs remain only one branch of a much larger living community. Around them, ancient reptiles, amphibians, insects, and resilient plants continue shaping the landscape together, each playing an essential role in maintaining the balance of the late Triassic world. Every generation adds another chapter to Earth's recovery. Small adaptations accumulate through millions of years, gradually producing new species better suited to changing environments and laying the biological foundations for future evolutionary success. The forests have grown taller, the rivers flow more freely, and wildlife now flourishes where silence once ruled. These transformed landscapes reflect the remarkable resilience of life, revealing how nature patiently restores balance through countless interconnected ecological processes. Although the scars of the Great Extinction remain preserved beneath ancient rocks, the living world has moved forward. Diverse ecosystems now flourish across the continents, demonstrating that resilience and adaptation remain the greatest strengths of life on Earth. The rise of the dinosaurs was never an isolated event. It was the result of millions of years of ecological recovery, environmental stability, and continuous evolution, allowing a new generation of reptiles to emerge within a world finally ready to support them. From the smallest insects hidden among ancient ferns to the first dinosaurs crossing broad floodplains, every creature shares a common legacy. Together, they represent the descendants of survivors that endured Earth's darkest chapter and transformed it into a new beginning. The late Triassic stands as one of the greatest turning points in natural history. Stable climates, expanding biodiversity, and flourishing ecosystems create the conditions that will soon allow dinosaurs to begin their long ascent toward global dominance. Earth's greatest extinction reshaped the course of evolution forever. What first appeared to be the end of life instead became the beginning of a remarkable biological renewal, opening opportunities that would define the next 180 million years of Earth's history. From silent volcanic wastelands to flourishing Triassic ecosystems, this journey reveals the extraordinary resilience of life through deep time. Every surviving species helped rebuild a living world, preparing the stage for the age of dinosaurs and reminding us that renewal has always been one of nature's greatest powers.